Hey guys, how are you all? I hope you're having an incredible day. Welcome back to my channel. If you have already been subscribed, hey, it's me, Nabila. If you are new here, then hi, press the subscribe button wherever it is. Please subscribe, please comment and like if you enjoy this video. So today's video is something I'm actually refilming. So I filmed my breastfeeding journey and Q&A, but I had lipstick on throughout the whole video, and I just thought this is a video that I'm constantly gonna be like posting and reposting because I get questions on it all the time, and I might as well just get it right the first time around. You know what I mean? So I thought I'd sit here and refilm it, which is probably a good thing because it's gonna get I'm gonna be even more straight to the point, whereas before I was talking so much. So, bit of background story. I gave birth in July 2018. So I have a 17-month-old daughter called Nazmia. If you are new or you don't know, then now you know. And I used to be I am a fashion and beauty blogger, but I have since moved. So I've been doing a lot more home inspo, and since I got pregnant, I started doing more mom related content. And now, as my daughter has gotten so much older, I've started doing more like mom and baby content, just because it's becoming a really big part of my life and I wanted to share it, and I feel like it comes naturally to me with that kind of content, so I wanted to create it. I got a lot of questions on my breastfeeding journey. So I've been breastfeeding for 17 months now, solely breastfeeding. Of course she's eating food now, but not bottle fed, not expressing, none of that kind of stuff. And a lot of people had a lot of questions. So it all started off when I got pregnant. I thought, okay, I knew from the beginning that I was going to breastfeed. That's something I believe in. It's something that I like my in-laws and my family are both really like, what's that word, behind. It's also what they wanted me to do, but I didn't do it because of them, but I was highly influenced by them as well. My mum breastfed all of her children, so I wanted to do the same, and I believe in all the benefits, and I think it's really good for children. So however, I didn't know how difficult it is. Damn, like after I gave birth, and it was really difficult because like you just think the baby's just gonna latch on and it's gonna be so easy and everyone does it and people have been doing it for thousands and millions of years and it's been fine. Oh my, like I got a big shock. That was probably one of the biggest shocks at the beginning because I found it so difficult. And for someone who's been breastfeeding for 17 months, people think it was so easy. It wasn't. It isn't an easy journey. It is super hard, and I feel like it's for people who are very dedicated. I'm not saying that if you're not dedicated you can't breastfeed. What I'm trying to say is it takes a lot out of you, and it takes a lot of hard work and dedication to do it. Obviously, unfortunately, some people aren't able to do it, and it's really sad, but that's life. And I guess you'll just bottle feed or formula feed, and that's absolutely fine. Actually, I was really struggling with breastfeeding. The first 3 weeks were just absolute insane hell, like I'm not even exaggerating. And I tried to formula feed, so I tried expressing and feeding Nazmia with a bottle, but I just couldn't express. I found it so painful. I found it extremely painful, so I didn't end up doing it. So I just left expressing to the side. I was like, hell no, I'd rather breastfeed. It's still painful, but it's less painful than expressing. So then I went back to breastfeeding, and then after about a week I was just like, okay, you know what, I'm gonna try formula, because the nights, like, she would just keep crying, and I didn't know what was wrong. Like, she was colic, and also like she had really bad stomach aches. And so I thought, you know what, I'm gonna try. I remember this one night, like me and Ahmed were just like, it was so difficult, we were going insane, and I thought, okay, you know what, I bought some formula. My friend bought over some formula, and she was like, you know what, you should try this. And it was already mixed and everything. All you had to do was like warm it up. So I boiled some water and warmed up the milk, put it in a bottle. I got her the man bottles, which are supposed to be really good, and I think it was the anti-colic ones. Yeah, I tried to give it to her. She would not take it. Bear in mind, she was only not even a week. I think it was like 5-6 days in. So we tried to give it to her, no luck, she wouldn't take it. And then I tried again in the day, she wouldn't take it. She just was like, every time I put it in her mouth, it was like I was giving her the most disgusting thing in the world. And then same with the dummy, like every time I tried to give her a dummy, it was like I was trying to choke her and I was trying to poison her. Like that's literally how she would react. And I tried to bottle feed her for about 3 months. Like every few days or every few weeks, I would just try and give it to her, because I did go back into work straight away. But obviously I work from home and I do go out as well, but not for long periods of time, so it wasn't as difficult for me to get back into work. I mean, it was difficult, but it wasn't as hard if I had to go back into like a job in an office or a job like in another location. Because mainly it was from home, it wasn't that difficult, and I had a lot of pre-filmed content as well that I just had to edit and go along with. So I was trying to put her on the bottle because obviously I was leaving her and there was a lot of events and I wanted to go to them, and I kept leaving her. She wouldn't take the bottle. Like I left her with my mom, I left her with Ahmed, and like she would just wait for me till I came back, and that was just her thing. She wouldn't want to take anything else. She's very strong-minded. And also a lot of people ask me, they're like, how did you manage to go to events? How did you manage to get some me time while breastfeeding? The thing is, it is like, it might seem impossible, but it is possible. Like, believe me, it's possible. For someone who just solely breastfed, I didn't struggle with, like, I did a little bit but not so much. Basically what I did was, so if I had an event, I would go between, depending on her age, I'd go between 2 and 4 hours, and then that gave me enough of a window where I knew she wouldn't need to be fed, especially if she was sleeping. Then I knew she wouldn't need to be fed, so she was okay to leave for a bit. And as she got older, this is what made it really easy. As she got older, what happened was she started weaning. So we had I honestly, I'm just gonna say this straight, I gave her a lot of Ella's pouches. She liked them. She didn't like any of the stuff I made. She didn't like any other foods, and they were like the healthiest and best options that I thought were right. Like, it's all fruit and vegetables, and it's supposed to be all natural. She wasn't having any other purees. Like, she had bananas for a bit and then she went completely off them for ages and only just started getting back into them. So she's always been a very fussy eater. Like, she knows what she wants and she would just eat that. So once she started weaning, it was a lot more easier, because obviously I could leave her for a bit longer, and then if she gets hungry, she would just have some food. And then obviously as she got older, she can have more food. So my like, she would be given fruit and vegetables, and like started eating real food as well. And that's how I did it. So I would only leave her for a couple of hours. I have not, so she's 17 months, I have not left her alone for a single night. So for me, that is a sacrifice that I made, but I don't struggle with that at all. I don't mind not going out in the nights. I also am really fortunate. I don't really need to go anywhere and spend the night there. And I did get, like, there were a lot of amazing events that I missed out because they were so early in the morning, and I was not gonna risk leaving her alone, and not alone, leaving her without me and then going to an event. Like, for me, it wasn't worth it. Like, my child comes first no matter what, and this is my job at the same time. But I was just like, events can wait. And then during this summer, like, I just completely stopped going because it just got really difficult with her. The timings just never worked for me. It was either way too early, so she was still sleeping, or it was way too late and it was time to put her to sleep. I'm really the only person who can put her to sleep. My sister-in-law is pretty good too, but then after about half an hour to an hour, she'd want to breastfeed, and obviously only I could do that. But I am happy to sacrifice that time, because I know she's only going to be a baby once. I know that in a few months time she's hopefully going to stop breastfeeding, so I'm not worried too much about it. I know there's this whole thing of like, oh, bottle feeding is so much easier, and you know, you should bottle feed. You know, a lot of people say that. However, I feel like breastfeeding, it isn't as difficult as people think it is. Like, don't get me wrong, there's been times where it was literally driving me insane, but I feel like with a baby it could be anything. There could be loads of, every baby has its own like difficulty, so there could have been loads of different things that could make you go crazy. Like, your baby could always be ill, or your baby could always be crying, or they could always want to be wanting something that you can't give them, or you know, there's always some kind of difficulty. It's never a smooth straight line with babies, and for me it was breastfeeding, and I just thought, I believe that this is the best for my daughter, so I'm trying to give it to her, and I'm sacrificing my time and my body, but it does get easier, and that's the main thing. And I feel like, you know, at the beginning, like, you feel like it's never gonna end, and you're just like breastfeeding, and you're just like going mad, and you feel like it's just never gonna end, because it does last like 3 to 4 months, but eventually it does like decrease, and then it'll start decreasing more and more, hopefully, depending on like what you do and how you do it and stuff like that. And that's where I find the relief is. So it does get easier, but then other things get harder, so you know, you swap the difficulties with other things. Hey guys, I'm really sorry, the sun is setting, so the lights got on a bit weird, but this is probably my favorite room to film in because the lighting is so good. Anyway, so I have a few questions. So somebody wrote, shame on you, and when I asked me anything about breastfeeding, I'm going to be talking about it. Guys, we need to take this stigma away from it, because this is why people are struggling, because they feel like it's shameful. And you know, there's some cultures that find breastfeeding shameful, and you need to be locked in a room and do it. Obviously, like, doing it in front of men, you don't need to do that, but I'm talking about like if it's just women, then I don't think it should be shameful, and I don't think there should be that stigma around it. Like, it's an incredible thing. You've brought life into this world, and now you're giving this life literally, because that's how they're growing and developing and, you know, like learning, and it's such an important thing. And breastfeeding, honestly, like, if you can do it and you want to do it, that's amazing, because it has so many benefits. And you know, the baby wants to be close to its mother. At the same time, if you're formula feeding, like, no shame, honestly. Like, I tried to do it, it didn't work for me. My next baby is definitely gonna be bottle fed. Maybe I'll do like, but I want to do both. I want to breastfeed and bottle feed, but I don't think I can go on as long as I did now. I don't know, I mean, I would love to, but it just, I think it depends what my situation is. I think if I'm still working, I probably wouldn't be able to do it. If I'm just gonna be a housewife, then I probably will be able to do it. For me, it's just the looking after the house, looking after the kids, looking after everything, and then working as well is really difficult. How many times do you feed now that she's eating? So definitely less. So she still breastfeeds like once every hour in the night, but I'm okay with that, because it used to be every 10 to 15 minutes. I know, it was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. But when I say every hour, I don't mean every hour. So it'll be like, she'll feed, don't count that time, and then there'll be like an hour until the next feed, sometimes 2 hours if I'm lucky. Just depends how busy her day was. But I know people whose babies only breastfeed 3 times during the night. It's kind of what you do and how your baby is, really. How to increase your milk supply? Do you pump? No, I feel like you have I feel like you have enough milk that you're supposed to support your baby, like naturally anyway. It's very important to constantly eat, and this is why I put loads of weight on, because I just needed to keep eating, and to produce milk I needed to eat all the time, like every hour. I'm not even joking, and still I am like that. But like I said, I feel like I'm sacrificing that for my child, so I don't mind it, and I love food, so it's not an issue. But I cannot wait till I stop breastfeeding and I can just eat normally again and I can lose the weight. But it's not something that I'm so crazy thinking about like I used to be. I've just embraced it now. What is it? Okay, so also there's like, you can eat like lactating, what is it, lactive biscuits, cookies. I know there's stuff like that. Also like high something, like I can't really remember because I never really did it, I just ate whatever. But I know like nuts and some other foods are really good for producing milk. Let me see, what was I gonna do? How to relieve backache whilst breastfeeding. Definitely put yourself in comfortable positions. For me, my best position is to be lying down and feeding her, because it takes, I have SPD, so it takes the pain off my back. What about when the baby starts to get teeth? So yeah, by the way, that is not fun, that is not difficult, but I kind of taught Nazmia that she can't do that. She still does it sometimes, but not as much or as bad as it used to be. And I just have to say to her, look, you can't be doing this. Like, girl, you cannot be doing this. Oh, how did you cope with feeding so often at the beginning? It is a bit of a shock to the system, but you get used to it. And I just used to spend a lot of time in bed and on the sofa. Honestly, that's how much I was feeding, and it's the most comfortable places to do it as well. And another thing that helped me, so I started my story and I didn't finish it, but breastfeeding is so difficult, and I didn't know. I knew I was doing it wrong, and when I asked my midwives, they were absolutely rubbish. They did not help at all. They were like, no, you're holding the baby right, you're doing it fine. And I'm like, I can feel that she's not doing it right, and I can feel her struggling, that it's not coming, and it's very painful, and it's not supposed to be this painful. And then about 2 weeks after I gave birth, I was complaining to my friend who had her second child. Where's the train, guys? I was complaining to my friend who had her second child, and she sent me an amazing video, and it was an illustration of how babies breastfeed, with like, it was an illustration with the face cut half, like, so you can actually see like the baby's throat and like how it's supposed to go in there, and like exactly how to latch on and stuff. Honestly, that video changed everything. As soon as I watched that video, I was like, oh, this is how you do it, and it helped me so much. And then I started trying to do it like what I saw in the video, and that's when it got easier, honestly. And I really recommend that video to everybody. A lot of people complain that they don't have enough milk, and what I realized, because I went through that at various times, and what I learned was, you are producing enough for your baby at the beginning. By the way, at the beginning, the baby's stomach is like this big. I'm not even exaggerating. So when they're born, their stomach is this big, so they don't need a lot to get full. They're eating constantly, not because they're hungry. Well, they are. They get hungry really quick, because if your stomach's this big, obviously it gets digested quickly, and then they'll want more. So obviously that happens. But another thing is, they want to be close to the mum. That's another thing. Like, I realized a lot of the times Nazmia was breastfeeding just because she wanted to cuddle or just to be with me, and she just wanted to be near me. Obviously they just came out into this world and it's so traumatic, and they just want to be back inside you, and breastfeeding for them is their comfort zone. And at the beginning you don't get a lot of milk because you don't need a lot of milk, and you know, it's colostrum, so it's very thick, and the baby only has a tiny bit, like, you know, you don't have buckets in there, and you don't need buckets for the baby. And this is a big misconception with mothers, I find. And obviously I didn't know this either, but I learned, and I talked to people along the way, and that's why I really wanted to share it with you guys. So yeah, you don't Like, don't think you're just going to be leaking milk, because that is not what happens. And each stage, and I realized when this Mia was weaning, so when she was eating food, when she first started eating food, my levels went so low compared to before, and I was like, oh my god, my milk's finishing. Like, I'm gonna stop breastfeeding because I don't have enough milk to feed her. But turns out it's because she needed more food than milk, so it wasn't replacing it, but it was replacing a lot of the feeds, and that's why my milk went down. Like, how amazing is that? Like, how amazing is God? He's made everything so that it's perfect. Do you know what I mean? So you don't have an abundance of milk, it's just enough for your child. That is incredible. How do you deal with comments of she's a hungry baby, just give her formula? And how do you deal with comments where people say, how just give her formula so you can have me time and you can do whatever you want to do? Right. So I mean, why are you even listening to those people? You are the mother of your child, so you do what you feel is best. It's good to take on advice, don't get me wrong, especially if it's a doctor or a specialist. But if it's not, then that's not their child. I don't take, like, if people say stuff to me, I'm just like, yo, this isn't your child, like, you don't know. I know what's best for my child, and you know what's best for your child, and let's just keep it at that. Obviously it's good to have advice, but with me, like, I had so many people who were like, you need to bottle feed, you need to bottle feed, and I was just like, she doesn't want it, but at the same time I don't want to. And it was really frustrating to just keep repeating myself, like, I don't want to, she doesn't take it, or I've tried, it's not my thing. And I think it's absolutely fine. Just like, and the thing is, it's crazy because people who breastfeed get this, but people who formula feed, I feel like they don't get any negativity because everyone's like, oh, okay, can't say anything to them. But if you're breastfeeding, people just want to say and can say anything they want. So I think that's wrong. Just like me, I'm not saying anything to you. You're formula feeding. I'm not judging you. Like, I really couldn't care less. Like, you are doing what you want to do with your child. I am doing what I want to do with my child. And that is how it should be. Like, I think it's wrong for people to be pushy. And I think it's wrong for people to try and, like, teach you how to bring up your child. Because no, just go have your own child and bring up your own child and do whatever you want to do with your own child, and I will just do whatever I want with my child. And that has been, and you know guys, like, I've always been that kind of person. I'm very, like, I take people's opinions with a pinch of salt. If it's advice, I take it on and I either follow through or I don't, depending on how I feel. That's absolutely normal, and there shouldn't be this thing like that you have to do something because somebody said something. Don't ever feel pressurized into how you want to raise your child. Did you lose pregnancy weight? Okay, that's in a whole other thing. I found breastfeeding did not help me with my weight loss. It did help me, it helped my body get back into shape, like my waist, because obviously your waist, like, really stretches out. So my waist went back in almost how it used to be, so it did help with that. But weight loss, definitely not, because it made me so hungry that I had to eat so much, and I have to still eat so much. Tips for new moms expecting and want to breastfeed. I think I only have one piece of advice, and that is moisturize every single day before you give birth. As soon as you find out you're pregnant, you need to moisturize, because they will get very cracked and they will become very painful. If you moisturize beforehand, it won't happen. And there's actually, wait, I have it. Here it is, because I actually use this as a lip balm. So this is a nipple balm and it looks like this. Where is it? Here we go. This stuff is incredible. It's amazing. I use this as a lip balm because I have extremely dry lips. Does Mia have any problems latching? Yes, she did, and you know, it's absolutely normal. It takes a while for the baby and you to get the hang of it because it's such a new thing for the both of you. The fact no one prepares you for how difficult breastfeeding can be, but says you must breastfeed. This is the one. Yeah, everybody's like you know what, I remember when I gave birth and I was struggling, like guys, I used to cry because it was so painful, and then people who have never had kids are like, no, you must breastfeed, you have to breastfeed, you can't bottle feed, you can't formula feed. And I'm like, yo, have you gone through this? Because a mother who's breastfeeding or has tried to breastfeed is never gonna say that. It always comes from people who have never had kids. And I'm just like, babes, you gotta have your child go through all this pain and then tell me that I should breastfeed. Because no, that's another thing, you cannot pressure somebody into doing it. If somebody doesn't want to do it, it's cool, that's their choice, and people just need to shut up and get over it. Were you exclusively breastfeeding when she was 0 to 4 months? Yes, I was. Does it really get easier? Yes, it does. It does get easier. Honestly, it really, really, really does. Like, for the longest time, I thought it was never going to get easier and it'll only get harder. But there's like waves. It gets easier and it gets harder. For me, the biggest thing that, like, I saw the biggest difference is all my friends' babies were teething and they were going through hell. Right, but alhamdulillah, mashallah, she's still got a few teeth to go, so I don't want to jinx this, but alhamdulillah, Nazmia went, like, her teething journey wasn't extreme. 1 month was like hell and I didn't sleep, right? But apart from that, because I was breastfeeding, like, it was so much easier, because in the night when she wake up and cry, I'm just like, here, I'll just breastfeed her, and I'm like sleeping, and I ended up like just sleeping through it, and she found comfort in that. Whereas if I wasn't, I can't even imagine. Like, this is one reason why I do want to breastfeed my next child, because I'm like, when they're teething, I cannot go through of being awake all night because they're in pain. Is it hard? How do you know the child is getting milk? They're just, once they're done, they're done. Like, they'll tell you, they'll stop drinking, so the child knows when to stop. That's how it works. Like, when a baby gets full, it stops eating. Is it fully worth it, or would you combine feed next time, inshallah? The thing is, I would 100% solely breastfeed my next child, inshallah. But it's just knowing that you already have another baby, and that is where I'm just like, oh, I don't know if I'll be able to do that. Because with Nazmia, if I didn't sleep all night, it was absolutely fine, because I can then sleep all day. Do you get it? Whereas you can't do that once you have more than one child. The purpose of breasts are to feed baby. They've just become so sexualized that everyone's forgot the importance of it. This is someone responding back to my shame on you comment. This is completely true. Absolutely. Like, how come everybody else can have their boobs out and talk about it? I've said the word, which I've never said on my channel. It's a little bit X-rated, which I've never said before. But how come they can do it, but then when you want to talk about breastfeeding and you're not showing anything, it's all of a sudden like, oh my goodness. And then these same people, you'll see them following like literally half naked women on Instagram, and you're just like, I just don't understand you. Like, it doesn't make sense. Anyway, let's end on a positive note. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope this helps. The reason why I did it was because I really hope this helps any other expecting mums or new mums or mums that have had kids but haven't breastfed or just want tips. I really hope this video helps and benefits you in some shape or form. I hope the advice I have given you has helped, and like, just, you know, I want to raise awareness and be able to freely talk about subjects like this, because everyone can talk about everything else, but then motherhood is so like sticky and everyone's just treading lightly over it. But I want mothers to talk about it, and then I feel like a lot of the time if you talk about like anything to do with babies and motherhood and pregnancy, everyone's like, oh my god, you're just complaining. Like, a million people have done it before you, thousands and thousands of generations have done it, and centuries, and women have done it and have gotten over it and blah blah blah. that doesn't mean anything. Like, I feel like there still should be a strong community for people to be able to talk about it, talk about their problems, find information to make life easier, because it has always been difficult. I think that's why I'm trying to talk about it, because it shouldn't be. It's an absolutely natural thing to do. You know, like, God wouldn't have made it like that if it was shameful. And then so yeah, so I hope you guys enjoy this video, and I shall see you in my next one. Bye.